Your inner being is pure, positive energy. And your inner being knows that when life has caused you to ask for something, that there is an essence at the basis of that is really valuable to you. And your inner being wants you to have that experience so that essence can be your knowing. That's what the evolution of all species is about, you see. It's only the human that puts the judgment on things, and humans put those comparative judgments on most things, mostly based upon their shortage consciousness thinking. Like, they don't understand that this universe is large enough to yield to everyone everything that they want, and that the shortage that people are experiencing and enduring isn't because there is lack in the abundance in the universe's ability to deliver. It's that humans ask for things that they don't turn to things because they hold themselves in vibrational opposition to what they're asking for rather than into vibrational harmony with what they're asking for. And some of this conversation here has dissolved some of that resistance within you a little bit too. We want you to no longer focus upon the condition that's preventing you from the receptive mode. Because the condition, you're facing the reality. You're facing the condition, and the condition is causing you to activate a vibration that is contrary to the vibrational reality that you want. So you can't get in the receptive mode because you're too much in the see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it reality mode. So you've got to find a way to be unconditional. So here's all of this abundance over here. It is consciousness, and it is abundance, and it is yours. It's got your name on it. It's yours. You put it there. It's been assimilated for you. It is your wealth. It's yours. But you can't see it because you're over here looking at your bank statement. So we say, don't look at that anymore. You've got to find a way to no longer look at the condition of money. You've got to find another way of translating that vibration into what? Into an emotion, into a feeling of freedom, into a feeling of ease, into a feeling of choices, into a feeling. Don't try to spend it right now. Just enjoy the feeling of the prosperity of it. Now, if you're able to do that, then you'll practice the vibration of it instead of the vibration of the absence of it. And in your unconditionality, you will find yourself a vibrational match to this. You see, the universe, your source, your inner being, knows every avenue. In fact, in every moment, there are 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 viable, receptive mode avenues for you to follow. But if you're focused upon how much money's in the bank, then in your conditional attention, the trees falling all around you in the forest, and you're not hearing any of it because you're not vibrationally in sync with it, because your facing reality has you in a whole different frequency. So what are you going to do with that? So instead of talking about money, let's talk about vibrational currency.
Wealth.
Instead of talking about wealth, let's talk about vibrational currency. Let's talk about wealth as it applies to freedom. Let's talk about wealth as it applies to ease of moving around. Let's talk about wealth as it applies to lifestyle. Let's talk about wealth as it applies to clarity, as it relates to vitality, as it relates to flexibility. So talk to us a little bit about the wealth that you seek.
I guess the wealth that I experience is the wealth that I can wake up and feel free, that I can go anywhere, do anything, and not worry about 20 years from now, not worry about when I'm 85.
But you said you're not doing it right now.
Right. Okay. So I will go general.
Because you're giving too much information.
Right.
So with that notion in your mind, say it in an even more general, even less conditional, less specific way. You wake up, or maybe you've been awake, you're focused in the moment. All right.
Abundantly.
Now let's just stop for it, because now we started to make it specific about carrying you around because you carried Jerry up here. But let's talk about the security that he clearly feels. Clearly, that's a secure dog.
Yeah.
Completely secure, not spooked by any of you, not interested in any of you. So do you have the ability to feel that kind of security? It's something worth thinking about. And when you think about it, security can be unconditional in this sense, not thinking about money. Now you could say, well, he doesn't need money because he's got me, but you don't need it either because you've got the universe. You have a caretaker that we are calling universal forces. Some would call it God. We will call it inner being. We will call it vortex. We will call it universal force that is surrounding you, that has already gathered all of the particulars of absolute security and abundance and brought it all together and is calling you to it. And the emotion that you feel, that feeling of security, is the feeling of not misalignment. That feeling of security is the feeling of allowing yourself to be in the vibration of that. I am complete well-being and complete comfort. I feel complete comfort. I feel complete well-being. Just giving the permission to enjoy the surroundings of well-being and comfort.
That's allowing, right?
That's allowing.
Okay.
Something that we notice with so many of you, you'll have many aspects of your life that do please you. And we know that you often speak about them, and we know that every bit of that is true. But we also know that you are giving an inordinate amount of attention to something that is holding the well-being called financial abundance away from you. And it most likely is your awareness on the very subject. In other words, it's possible to be worried about a handful of things that don't have anything to do with money and still hold money away. Just like you don't have to be worried about your physical health in order to diminish your health. You don't have to be specifically focused upon the lack of a specific subject in order to specifically disallow that subject. But when it is a subject like money, which shows up in your experience in many different ways in every single day, the way you feel about a subject like that often becomes such a normal feeling that you don't even realize that you're doing it. And it's a hard subject to get your attention away from because it is something that comes up so often during the day. What we would do if we were standing in your physical shoes and we were wanting to change, and you do, you got to change your vibration if something in your life is going to change. So let's start there. I want to change the way I feel about finances. It's that simple. I want to change the way I feel. But something that I think about really, really often, I think about from a place that does not match what I really, really want. So we say, you have to change your vibration about money. So how does one go about changing their vibration about money? Well, you have to stop looking at what is. Well, how can I not look at what is when what is? How can I not notice that I have to pay the bills, or that there are things that I and my children and that I would like for my grandchildren? How can I not notice that I want more money than I have? And we say, by noticing other things that are working, by noticing the things that are working so much that the things that aren't working don't get much airtime. Or you could take the bull by the horns and you could hit it head on, and you could start making a game about money that distracts you from the lack of money and makes you start approaching money differently. In other words, a game about money. We notice as we watch many of you who are in a situation where you feel that there is not enough money, you have this underlying trauma sort of going on all of the time. It's that feeling, I'm going to give you my credit card and I'm going to hope that it is not declined. Or it is the feeling of I'm getting close to my limit and I'm paying way more interest than I should. Or it's the feeling of, oh, I don't want to go to the mailbox because there may be more bills that are in the mailbox than my ability to pay it. And so a sort of stress just sort of begins to layer over many of you. And we say, you're responding to the reality of what is, and letting the reality of what is control your vibrational attitude about money. And if you want it to be different, you've got to say, I'm going to control my attitude about money. I'm going to control it. Well, what that means is, I'm going to find a way of making money management more fun. I have to find a way of turning it into something that I'm looking forward to instead of something that I'm dreading. Sometimes people have developed this attitude of unworthiness or wrongdoing around the idea of debt. And we want to say to you that debt is not a bad thing. Your economy counts on debt. If your debt were to be removed, your economy would collapse. In other words, debt is not a bad thing. Debt is an indicator of someone's belief in your ability to pay. In other words, there are all kinds of good energies that flow around the idea of debt. Don't beat up on yourself relative to debt. And as you begin to relax, little by little by little, you will release the resistance that has been the only thing that has been keeping the steady stream, even avalanching of dollars into your experience. You cannot justify the dollars that flow through action. You can't do it. Not possible to do it.
It would be nice if we could just zap into your mind our knowledge of how much abundance is there for you. And if you could feel hopeful about it being there instead of disappointed that it hasn't been there, it'd start moving right away.
Okay.
In other words, it's not a matter of winning the lottery or getting an inheritance or even landing a great job or finding education that leads you to better employment. It isn't about the activity. It's about letting yourself let in what you've been saying for a long time you want. The source has been hearing and lining up. It's such an odd thing for us to see your virtual bank accounts in relationship to your bank accounts. It's just odd that you have all of this leverage and all of this affluence and all of this abundance. And so many of you are just pinching it off by your determination to keep telling it like it is, telling it like it is, telling it like it is, telling it like it is. And we know in this world where you are surrounded with those that don't want you to put your head in the sand or be delusional, we know that telling it like it is has been highly regarded, but we're here to tell you, telling it like it is will hold it like it is forever, indefinitely. In other words, so you sat down and those are the words that are the most dominant in your vibration. What is just so loud. And that's because it's a simple reason. You're letting most of your vibration be in response to what you're observing instead of what you are envisioning. In other words, you can think thoughts that will cause a different vibrational patterning, or you can observe, or you can think thoughts that will cause a similar vibrational patterning. But you do have control over the thoughts that you think. But you got to start new habits. You got to talk to different people. You got to talk about different things. You've got to start telling the story differently. We would recommend that as soon as you leave this gathering, that you get a notebook and you call it My Life Story, and you begin writing Chapter 1, my life story relative to abundance. And you just fabricate a fabulous fairy tale that is pleasing to you in some way. And you say, good, this is the new me. This is the new vibrational virtual me. And we promise you, if you'll tell that story for just a little while instead of the story that you've been telling, the universe doesn't know whether the story you're telling is the reality or not. The universe only knows that it's the vibration that's activated. And the vibration that is activated is the vibration that law of attraction is answering, you see.